All right. Oh, why am I sharing? Okay, Reverend.
Huh?
I'm talking to Mary. Go ahead.
Okay, let me get my camera on and I gotta pull up my
You're
what you
on,
call
dear.
it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Bowen, and again, I want to welcome you all to segment 3 of the Singles Oasis. I want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please let us know. For those that are tuning in again, we thank you. Please like and share the broadcast. Our topic of discussion tonight is guarding your heart. But before we dive into tonight's topic, I do want to share a few relevant statistics regarding our singles population in the U.S. If you remember from our first episode, I had shared that 46.4% of the U.S. population identifies as single, which consists of 117.4 Americans. I found an article from Psychology Today from June that not only referred to those statistics that I had cited previously in our first segment from the United States Census Bureau, but the article gave an even further breakdown of those statistics. So if you are wondering if you're currently single and unmarried, if you're wondering if you're in the minority, actually no. According to the U.S. Census Bureau statistics on marital status, married people, not unmarried people, are actually in the minority. They account for 49% of the people 15 and older. The other 51% consist of 136.3 million that are either divorced, widowed, or separated, or they've always been single, never married. The interesting thing about these statistics is they include individuals that are under the age of 18. So basically folks that are 15 and older. But if you were to omit the minors from that data, then the numbers flip back around to singles being in the minority, which is under half not being married. Just have a few more statistics. So here are the percentages of individuals here in the US that are currently identified as unmarried. 11% of those are widows. 19% of those are currently divorced. Those that are separated consist of 3%. Legally, they may be separated, but biblically, that's another question. I'm not going to dive into that right now. And those that have considered themselves always single but never married, 67%. Lastly, I had previously provided some stats on some folks under the age of 30 during our first segment, but I want to touch upon those individuals who are over the age of 40, for example. So individuals that are over the age of 40, in the most recent data from 2023, more than a quarter of adults between the ages of 35 through 44 have never been married. So that's about 26% of the population. For the men, that percentage was a little bit higher at 29%, while as women who were over the age of 40, they came in at 22%. Now, also too, before I dive into tonight's subject, I also noticed that we have Mr. LaRon Peoples with us. So very briefly, LaRon, can you take a moment to briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Um, as it was said, I'm LaRon. I'm Chris's brother-in-law. I was married. I'm divorced, and I have 3 children.
And if you don't mind, can you share your age? I'm just wondering what generation you're part of.
I'm 46.
46. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All righty. All right, so back to tonight's topic. So tonight we really want to talk about the importance of guarding our hearts as singles. So Again, these are just some of the general questions that I'm going to be throwing out, to the panel, but they're really going to hone in on some of these concepts. So for example, as a single man or woman, what does it actually mean to guard my heart according to the Bible? Why is it important that we guard our hearts? How do we actually guard our hearts? What does guarding our hearts look like? You know, what should we be guarding our hearts against? And does guarding our heart mean shutting people out or going into complete isolation? Or does that mean we're keeping the wrong people out and preventing them from having access to our heart to prevent us from stumbling? Like, what exactly does that look like? Because according to the Bible, all followers of Christ, regardless of their marital status, are instructed to guard their hearts. So what am I talking about specifically? So I'm referring to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. In the King James Version, it says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." In another version, it says, "Keep and guard your heart with all diligence, and above all that, guard your heart, for out of it flows the springs of life." And when we refer to the heart in the Bible, some of you may be wondering, what exactly is God referring to? And the heart here refers to the Hebrew word, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, leb, L-E-B, which is also used figuratively to describe the feelings, will, and intellect. Likewise, the center of everything. So long story short, the heart in this instance refers to the mind, will, and emotions. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to start asking our panel to talk about this subject. So my first question is, why is it important that we guard our hearts? And I'm actually going to start with Tracy.
Why is it important, you said, to guard our heart?
Yes.
According to the scriptures, out of it flows the issues of life. It's very important. When you look in the scriptures, the heart and the mind is interchangeable. That as people of God, that we do guard our heart simply because, we have certain gates that we have to keep guard of, like our eye gate, our ear gate, what we listen to, what we watch, even our mouth, what we speak, what we say, because life and death is in the power of the tongue. We as believers, we're responsible, and we're held accountable for the things that we say and do. And so as believers, it is our responsibility to guard our heart. Um, it, I, the only way the way I'll break it down is like this. You'll know, you can listen to someone's conversation because their speech will betray them, and find out where they are, whether they're hurting, whether they're angry, it flows out of you. And so that's why it's very important that we guard our heart as believers, regardless, period. That's my stance.
Hakeem?
Tracy, I want you to know I felt like you started off real strong there. Good job. I want you to know that.
I know it's coming. It's coming. Come on with
Coach is like, come on with it.
it.
So what I was thinking was, when it comes to guarding your heart, I think in my experience and when I look around, I have my notes here. That's what I'm looking at.
Mhm.
It's and we're guarding our heart. I'm tying that to the patient and waiting for God to deliver us what we've been asking for. That's the route I'm going with it,
Mhm.
and not forcing it and listening to God. I'm going there because I think that us as human beings, when it comes to this, being patient, I feel like that has been the struggle for most of us, as far as waiting for him
Mhm.
to get what we've been asking for. And as you know, I think we all know that his timing is not the same as our timing. And so we can try to force something that's not there. And so the guardian, I think, is more of like a reminder of wait on him. Be patient, guard what he's getting ready to provide for you, because if you don't, you won't be in a place to accept it. All right, so that's the guard and heart part. I want to talk about one more piece. The other piece I was thinking about as we were talking is, okay, what happens then on the other end? What happens if our heart is not guarded? And going back to Egypt and Pharaoh, okay, specifically God hardened his heart and he doubled down, and he went, and nobody here wants to marry a Pharaoh.
Nope.
So Tracy, you with me on that one. So I'm just going to end on that right there, because I think we all know how that went. And it took 10 horrible plagues for that Pharaoh to change his mind. And then after he changed his mind, he still came after him. And then he ended up drowning his army. So I just wanted to point both of those things out.
Okay.
Good job, bro.
LeBron, you want to go next?
For me, I just think of warfare. I think of um, if I was stabbed in my heart and I would die. I think of not so much as all like weaponry, but with your words and with what people say. Some things can hurt that people say that you never forget and slowly kill you inside. You take that poison in. So I feel like protecting your heart is important so that people can't get to places that they shouldn't get to in your life.
Okay.
I don't want to be told that I'm less than or not what God has for me and everything else. I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear what God has. I want to be uplifted, not torn down.
Thank you. Apostle.
That's cute. Y'all real cute. I love it. Y'all biblical. Y'all holy in the noun. I appreciate it. I love the word of God. I love it. I love it. I love it. But can I tell you something? You said guarding your heart.
Yes.
Like this. Every single girl's heart that I broke was because a woman broke mine first.
Explain.
Because my heart was not, because I wasn't either told how to protect it or I didn't listen to how to protect it. And because I made the wrong decisions or allowed myself to be attracted to those that did not understand what love was or how to administer it or how to receive it. And because it was my first time not knowing how to guard, protect it, or hold it, whatever have you, I just gave what it felt good to give. But once it was broke, my mind was, I'm not going to let it happen again. I'm going to get you before you get me.
Mm.
So I was no longer concerned about your heart. I was no longer concerned about whether or not she was daddy's little girl. I wasn't concerned whether or not she was a sweetheart, a good one, and what was meant to be good. Listen, I was a sweetheart too. I was daddy's boy. You messed it up, guess what? I'm coming for you.
Mm.
We heard
I mean,
that.
we haven't come. Okay, is that okay?
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, you did great.
Now, but
Hey,
listen. So if I'm a slap a scripture on here, Luke 6:45 says, "A good person produces good things from the
Mhm.
treasure of a good heart,
Mhm.
and an evil person produces evil things from the treasure of an evil heart." Well, what you say flows from what's in your heart. So you're asking the importance of protecting your heart, but then let's be honest. How did those things get in there? Were we naturally born evil? When they even do research and they do the life of Jeffrey Dahmer and all of these other people that we find to be serial killers and murderers and heartless or whatever have you, when they check the receipts, it usually goes back to their childhood where someone either protected their heart, abused them, broke their spirit, the whole 9 yards, and then it became, I'm okay. All right. And I yield. I'll let back to the moderator.
I see.
you did. See how you did that?
Yeah, he did. Boy, he blew the wind off that one right there. He blew the wind off of it. I see that Shannon is about to join us, and I would like to give her an opportunity um, to speak. But before we do so, because I'm definitely going to come back to her.
Is that your hand up, Hakeem? Is that what the pen is?
No, I saw what you did there.
You saw
You
me?
want,
I
because
saw what you did there.
Hakeem,
I
if you
saw what
got
you did.
I'm gonna let you go ahead with it if you
No,
got
no, no.
some.
No, that's smooth. See, what happens is he left y'all hanging.
Yes, he
He
did.
left them one more. That's what he did. I saw that. That was smooth. Leave him one more. You took him to the top and you just left him. That was smooth, Chris.
Damn, that's how you did it. That's how we doing it tonight.
That was smooth. I taking
Moderator,
notes.
take control of the mic. Tell us where to go
I'm
from here.
taking notes.
Hold on, hold
Okay,
on. Before
right.
Leave
All right.
them
I got
wanting more. Leave
We
them
both, bruh.
know,
We
wanting,
both taking
I
notes.
know,
wanting
but
more. You
we gonna
take
come back. We go, we gonna come back.
more.
Shannon, I want to make sure you have an opportunity.
Them sound like fight words. That's all I gotta say.
Shannon, I see you there, Shannon.
Repeat the question. I'm sorry. I'm just coming in.
Hey, Shannon.
Good. Come on
Hey,
in, radio.
hey,
Shannon.
brother.
Going on.
Shannon's my sister.
What my question was is why is it important for us to guard our hearts?
Oh, you have to protect yourself, especially if you've already been hurt. You definitely have to protect yourself. You want to create boundaries. You want to make sure that you're never hurt again. You want to make sure you've learned from the experiences that you had in the past. So you definitely want to protect your heart from being broken again. So I think that is definitely important. Um, and you want to give yourself time to heal so you can love again. You can love again freely without dredging up the past. And you want to make sure that not too many people have access to you.
I like that, right? I like that. So this is actually a good way to segue into the next question because you mentioned quite a few things in terms of why it's important to guard your heart, in terms of loving again fully, to make sure we're not drudging up the past, we're not holding grudges, but also making sure that we're not allowing the wrong people in. So I'm going to actually start the next follow-up question, and Shannon, I'm going to start with you. So what exactly does guarding your heart look like then? Can you kind of give us examples in this instance based upon your previous response?
Creating boundaries, making sure that you are in the right company. Because if you're not in the right company, you can go to places where you necessarily should not be. Guarding even what you watch on TV. I know that was very important. When you're married, you can entertain certain shows because if the fire started, you can put it out. Hello, somebody. But if you, but if you're not, and you start watching certain shows, and then what you gonna do with that fire? So I think guarding your heart, guarding your eyes, guarding what you listen to, guarding who you listen to during that season, who is around you, who has your ear during that time. You have to be very protective of what you're hearing and what you're taking in. I'm trying to think of examples, but that's the best example that I can think of that would help in that area.
Tracy, you want to follow up?
I mean, she said it all. Setting healthy boundaries. When you begin to set healthy boundaries, especially around those who have hurt and wounded you, they don't like it. They get upset. They say you being mean or you changing. But it's something that's needed. You have to, like Lady O was saying, you have to be mindful what you put of your gates, your eye gate, your mouth, your ears. You have to be mindful of all of that, because all of that, like she said, when the fire rises, what you gonna do? You single?
So, okay, I'm gonna throw this out here, and
Wow.
I'm gonna throw this out here, and actually, I'm gonna actually throw this at Hakeem because I don't want nobody dominate the conversation. So I'm gonna throw this at Hakeem. Um,
Get 'em.
so I've heard from two different people, talking about, establishing healthy boundaries and, making sure that, this desire, is contained, and we know which desire is contained. So,
Reverend, are we talking about desire? Are we talking about sex, Reverend? Is that what we're talking about?
yeah, Bishop, we talking about sex.
Okay, I was just checking.
We are.
Keep going, my bad. Keep going, my bad.
That's right.
I mean, let's just keep it real. No, we're just keeping it real. So, what are some ways as a single man can guard his heart from, let's just be honest, either premarital sex or lust? What are some ways that he can guard his heart so he can avoid falling into sexual sin?
Whew, a whole lot of prayer. That's the first thing I want to say. There's a whole lot of prayer that's going to make that happen. When it comes to that, and I've been trying to stay away from the battle of the sexes. Chris, I've been trying. It's getting harder and harder for me to do that. But I want you to know something. Here's what's interesting. Because of our culture where we're at right now, I went that route. I've gone that route. Not saying I give up on that route. On that route where ladies, it's funny how once you tell a woman you don't want to have sex, thank you. Once you tell one or two things are going to happen. Either A, she's not going to believe you, or B, it just made it more aggressive. I'm like, lady, you know how creepy you sound right now. So it's so funny how women throw that creepy word out so fast. You tell a woman you don't want to do it, it's amazing. I'm going to write a book and tell all single men out there, introduce yourself to a woman and tell her you don't want to have sex. And just sit back and watch, because that's been tricky. It's been hard because there's so many different experiences that is shown either on TV or TikTok that doesn't say that a man's going to do that. So it must be something wrong with him, which is fine, because I'm going back to what I said earlier about waiting on God, because if that person's not hearing it, then that must not be the person that God sent.
Okay. Oh, Apostle.
Ma'am, I just want to make sure I heard your question correctly. Could you just please ask it? Because I got kind of thrown off when my man went. Yeah, I heard it, but I want you to say it one more time for me, please.
Okay, so initially, my question was, what does guarding your heart look like? But since we also have men on our panel, what does it look like for a single man or a godly man, period, to guard his heart, specifically when it comes to sex?
Have godly parents. 1, 2, listen, obey them. 3, be in a community that follows the guidelines of kingdom. 4, making sure that you stay within group settings. Not trying to be the Lone Ranger and delve off by yourself. That's what dark corners in the movie theater. Yeah. Teenage boy with a car. Lookout points. Peer pressure, right? No. Cold showers. Sorry. You really have to, because okay, I was a virgin until I was 13 years old, which was late compared to most of the boys in my community, or at least so they said. No, they had extra girls to justify it who witnessed to it, whatever have you. So I was the laughing stock because I was still the Christian boy who was still a virgin. So then now I felt I had the pressure to try to prove my manhood and my boyhood because the other boys around the community were already engaged. Then the church that I was going to at the time, where there were more youth, they were of a denomination that was a little bit more free. And so even the kids who I was going to go to Sunday school with was already hollering the same thing, boy, you late. Then I had uncles and cousins who were smokers and drinkers. And if I hung out with them, they would say, boy, well, how come you didn't get your pencil wet yet? Right? So now I'm getting pressure from those who I look up to, and I'm getting pressure with my peers. As far as sexual, that's the sex part is what you was talking about, right? So now I'm on a pride, or I'm on a prowl, or I'm on a mission to try to accomplish this so I can brag like everybody else, with no minds, no maturity of how to pick, how to choose, what's the responsibility, what not to do, what to do, whatever have you. Messed around, did what I had to do just so I could say what I had to say, and then guess what? I got my heart broke. Because the one who was willing was the one who was willing to do with others. The young lady who was trying to preserve herself wasn't trying to play that game. So she was already experiencing. So I bring my inexperienced self, and now I'm hurt. So what do I got to do? Now I got to learn so that I can get back and show that the next one, or the next one after that, that I actually can do what I know how to do. It's kind of a, so I just thought I'd throw a little bit of in there, but to your question is that the two examples. One, Samson got attracted to a woman who was not a part of his circle. Dad said, well, is there not any women that you would be interested in Israel? No, I don't want that. I want that hoochie over there that knows how to twerk. All right. So he went over there and messed around. What you looking left for? She went over there, messed around, hooked up with, right? And it's now wedding time. He gets mad, and there's a whole lot of, there's a whole big story about that, about how there was a challenge, and then she actually betrayed him with her family over him, and she hurt him, and he went away thinking that things were still good. He came back. But I want you to read that portion of scripture very, very carefully, because when he came back and found out that they had given his wife to his best man, he said, and you will hear the breaking and the changing of his behavior and mindset and heart in the words in that portion of the scripture. He says, from this point on, I will not be held accountable for what I'm going to do. This whole story that we're trying to live in, this whole context that we're trying to learn, is the love of God. For God so loved the world that he gave. God loved, he created. God loved. It's love. So if the enemy can try to attack us at our love place, reduce it, thwart it, contaminate it, hinder it, make you bottle it up, pull it back, the whole 9 yards, then he's accomplished his goal.
True.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you said community, and I love when you said community, but in your story, though, the community that you're talking about, this happened, did come from the church. I'm not saying the church is responsible. I'm just saying that that community of that girl was in the church, correct?
So here, mind you, what I said was a godly community that followed the principles and practice of kingdom. And the specific area of kids that I went to Sunday school with, that denomination was a little bit more free. And so their kids were not being taught chastity. So they were still bragging. So my community, even within the church, that community was not conducive to what I should have been around. Had there been more children in the doctrine that I was primarily raised and grew up around, or whether or not I shared this conversation with those kids, or I did not allow, or my parents missed the opportunity, or I missed the opportunity to choose that, no, these are not the type of kids I want to be around. I want to be around these kids. Mommy, take me to this Sunday school. Why? Because they're turking dirty and grabbing booties and boobs in the bathroom. Whereas if I stayed in this community that was walking within the principles and the practices of kingdom, then I would have been around other ones who would have encouraged me to say, no, the word says that you should keep, you should chase, right? So now when I said community, I did want to kind of put in there the opportunity, so they want to look like there's not pitfalls within inside the body, But I did want to make a clear distinction between doctrine, teachings, and kingdom principles, because there was a specific denomination that I went to where their children weren't necessarily taught about chastity and preserving themselves. And I found myself still being influenced the same way I did in my circle on the streets. Basically, it was the same people. But there was an alternative had I stayed within inside the channels of that group of people. Does that make?
You did great.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I want to make sure, LaRon, I want to make sure you put your sense in too, LaRon.
You have to unmute your mic, Reverend.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
For me, I'm not dating, and that's why. I know who I am. I know where it's gonna go, and I just don't want to do it. I Christian Shannon. I was very sick for a long time, and God has healed me. God has blessed me, and I can't repay Him by messing up. It'll be a slap in the face. I feel like. So I just made a decision not to date, not to put myself in a situation. And I pray, and I say, if you know, Lord, you see something for me, then let me know. But otherwise, I'm just not going to move. Why does it get so quiet every time I talk? No one says nothing. No
I
snaps.
don't know.
No.
Maybe is that Barry White? Come into my secret garden.
I
You hearing right
mean,
now?
there's
Deep breathing.
absolutely nothing.
The fellas ain't gonna respond to
It's the
that.
second time.
Man.
The second time that's happened. I'm just not going to share.
No. We gotta share, Rev. You gotta
No.
share. You're here.
Share, Reverend Doctor.
We need you to share. We definitely need you to share. No, and we don't want anybody dominating the
I'm gonna protect
conversation.
my heart.
Um,
Not gonna hurt it. We're not gonna hurt it.
I'm wounded.
Yeah, that's what she said too.
Same place. Same place.
Same thing she said. I'm not gonna hurt you. Yeah, okay, boo. All right.
LaRon,
Okay.
listen, LaRon, we are hearing you. The first time you talking about your heart and weaponry, and this time you're talking about where you're at, not dating. And I love what you're saying. And part of my story, I can go there with you because I was saying is it gets confusing, get to that part, and then get labeled a negative way from trying to do the right thing. So, like what you said, the best thing to do is to back up. Like you, Laura's been blessing me, and it'd be a slap in the face to go above and beyond to do something to slap in his face, just cause.
Right.
So how you started was right. You're like, I know who I am, and we know who we are, and we have to do that. Now it's sad, it's unfortunate. Nobody told us it would be like this, and that's why I made the joke about writing a book, because in the natural, it's confusing as hell. But when you're following him, okay, no problem. This is what he has us in, and we got to be patient and wait on him, aka and or just not date.
Right.
See, man, we listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got you. We got you. So I'm gonna shift the conversation just a little bit, because I'm still gonna stay in that same vein, what we want to guard our heart against. I know we spent some time kind of talking about passions, or in other words, we spent some time talking about sex, but there's some other things that we want to make sure that we're guarding our heart against. And I know that both Shannon and Tracy had alluded to this in their answer in some of their previous responses. But one of the things that I kind of wanted us to talk about, because I believe singles kind of find themselves in these types of situations more so in their workplaces, or if they're maybe involved in other extracurricular activities. But I wanted to talk about how we can maybe guard our hearts against corrupt speaking and or foul language, because there are, some scriptures that talk about, we should be avoiding, perverse talk, that we should stay away from corrupt speech that comes from Proverbs 4 and 24. we also want to make sure that, we're not deceived, and we need to recognize that evil communications corrupt good manners, which comes from 1 Corinthians 15:33. So I'm actually going to circle back to Tracy. What are some ways that we can not only guard our speech, but also guard our ear gates or our ears from maybe that corrupt speaking or foul language that's referred to in the Bible as singles and believers?
You have to be really intentional, as to who you're hanging around, what group of people. I'm a gamer. I love the game. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people in the gaming community. But the people that you meet, they are foul at the mouth. And you can meet somebody and be like, it's a big turnoff, but that's how they speak. That's how they communicate. A lot of times, and I'll use that as an example, but a lot of times I don't state my gender. Because when I started gaming, it was predominantly men that gamed. But now we have a lot more ladies that game. And so I never really, to this day, never really tell what my gender is. I'll game with them for a while. I'll listen for a moment, and I'll establish relationship because we become a part of the community. And once I do that, I let them know, listen, I'm a Christian. I don't swear. I don't this. I don't that. And I would really appreciate if you didn't do that. Da da da. It gains respect. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Oh, you should have told me. Blah 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 blah. I do apologize. So you have to be really intentional. I don't dog them, because for some people that's all they know. And that's who they are. Um, I've been able to, and fortunate enough, to use that as a witnessing tool. Say I do go into those type of communities that are unsaved, people who that's all they do. But you have to be really intentional. You have to guard yourself. You have to set boundaries. You have to be intentional on the groups of people and the caliber that you do hang around. The music that you listen to, the movies that you watch. You have to be very intentional, especially nowadays. You can see everything. Back in the day, I won't date myself. Certain things was not allowed on TV. I had read across someone and I said, you remember when you could watch TV so long and the channel would go off and the young crowd was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself. And they just laugh because they have no clue. But like I said, you just really have to be intentional about it and set those boundaries and be mindful of where you are. And like I said, I've been able to use that as once I built relationship, because one thing that Jesus did when he walked the earth, he established relationship. He didn't really go after anybody until he came to know them, and then he spit the truth, and that's wisdom that takes time. He was very relational. And I think that's, as Christians and believers and so, that's what we should be like. There you have it.
Right. Thank you very much. Lady Shannon.
You're muted.
Lady, we can't hear you.
Okay. So for me, especially when I was single, I would not allow certain conversations, even with like my married friends, because I was no longer married anymore. So I couldn't hear certain things. It was very triggering for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was to the point where I couldn't even hear arguing. When I hear arguing over nonsense, I can't listen to it because I already know that those little things lead up to big things. And next thing you know, you're divorced. Yeah. So hearing conversations, like I was with a couple and they were arguing over a potato salad, and I'm saying, really?
Salad?
I mean, yes.
Well, did they put raisins in it?
Oh, Lord.
No, no
Potato
raisins.
salad.
Because
Really?
because that's the argument right there.
That's
is
the
all.
argument.
I'm with you,
Potato
Ron.
salad.
Yeah, I want to know.
About
It
that.
was potato salad, and
Throw the
at
whole thing out.
I was so
So,
upset. It triggered me because I'm like, what are you doing? And then they got to it, and then she took the potato salad. She said, "Is this what it's about?" And she threw it out the window on the highway. I was like, "Oh
Oh
no!"
my goodness.
So it was bad. So I said, I'm not gonna be around couples anymore. Like I would limit my time. People that I grew up for years, that's different. But being around couples, listening to arguments over nothing, even with like getting single friends again and hearing like dirty jokes. No, I don't want to hear that. And anybody that knows me, I'm always gonna be shocked and appalled by anything that you say. There's always I don't do dirty jokes. I don't want to hear dirty jokes. I'm always shocked and appalled. I'm always gonna clutch my pearls. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to. I don't entertain it. I don't even want to even let it in because I don't want to be so desensitized into thinking that it's normal. It's not normal. You're not going to convince me that it's normal. I don't want to hear it. So even eventually, people will say, "Well, oh, don't say that in front of Shannon." Yeah, please don't. I don't want to hear it because I'll take that home. I'll be like, "Can you believe?" I'll wake up in the middle of the night like, I can't believe that was the worst joke. It would bother me. So I think doing little things like that, protecting yourself, anything that 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 you're going to be triggered by until you can receive complete healing from it, it's best to separate yourself from the situation.
Okay. Okay, I like that. Hakeem,
yes, ma'am.
the floor is yours, sir.
um, no, I love what both of the ladies said. I love what Shannon said. Um, I think that going back to what Tracy was talking about, remember the commercials or the TV shows we used to watch? That was, and so
Yes.
like we need each other for support because where we are now is so smooth, just like the Garden of Eden. It's just so smooth with it. It's like he surely didn't say that right. It's not, even if we have a clean TV show that we're watching, then the commercial's gonna be bad. Or even or or we maybe other than Christian radio, if we so happen to listen to another radio station, then that commercial is gonna be bad. Or
Everywhere.
Yeah.
there's situations where that gets tricky. So not only do we have to be careful, like Shannon said, but I think we also got to come up with a plan B. All right, what do you do when you're in a situation? Now, she made great examples when she talked about other people, but I don't think it's not just other people we're talking about. It's the TV, it's the radio, it's other things.
Yeah.
And shoot, it's us. It's the natural. It's the natural as well. Sometimes our own self will come up with thoughts, not even giving credit to the devil. Sometimes we give him too much credit. Sometimes it's just the natural of what we see, what we want, and having a backup plan for that. That's what I've seen because it's so smooth now.
So cunning.
That's the difference. It's so intertwined. It's so, we don't watch out. We could be like, oh yeah, we're not sure if he really did say that.
Right.
Right. Right. So true. So true.
Good one, bro.
LaRon, it's
Yes.
you. You got the floor.
For me, I really have to put a lot of thought and dedication into that, like my words. As much as I can make you laugh, I can hurt with my words even worse. I'm pretty good at it, but I don't want to like that to define me. I don't want my anger to define who I am. So I put guards on beforehand. Like my ex-wife's name on my phone is "Call on Jesus." That's because when I just got to start a quick prayer before I answer the phone, because she gonna say something. But no matter what she does, I don't want it to dictate my reaction.
Yeah.
And there's times where I'm going into situations and I'm like, okay, you already know. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't let it dictate who you are. Don't let it control you. Don't. I do these kind of things all the time, and then um, I'm staying in constant communication with God. I'm always saying a quick little something to Him during the course of the day,
Absolutely.
just to stay connected.
Absolutely.
Because it can. Shannon will tell you, it'll be real fast, where I snap at you, and it's something that I know that I can do, and I try my best to like not do that.
And
I
we
just want to
definitely,
make sure you didn't think it was quiet when you was done. So I just
Good.
wanted to say amen, brother. I just want to say that,
Amen.
LaRon. I want
That's
you to
right.
record it.
and
That's
I was
right.
getting ready to say, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose
I want you to push
it.
record it, LaRon.
No, the moderator's off. She's gonna
Amen,
finish.
Ronnie.
But I appreciate not only the transparency, but also the realness, because this is what all of us experience, that where we have to try and hold our tongues to keep us from saying something we're not supposed to. And that's a part of guarding our hearts. That's a part of, operating the fruit of the spirit and self-control.
Tell the truth.
Now, Apostle, I want to make sure you get some time on the floor as well about this part of the topic as well. So, Apostle Oliver, please share.
Yes, ma'am. Would you ask the question one more time, please?
Yes.
I need you to pay attention.
I mean, I was paying attention, but true, I have square moments.
And he's also
You write it down. He has a lot of square.
he does, but he's
Know it.
also helping me man this chat. So y'all got to give him some props. So he's
Yeah.
helping me
Okay,
man the
all
chat
right.
as well.
Yeah, no,
I'm
he's got a
sorry
great
about
job.
that.
Okay.
Don't beat up
Okay,
on him.
okay.
Write it down.
Okay.
Write it down. Reverend Doctor.
I just want to make sure I'm still on topic because I can go off topic. So what was the question now? The third question again? I'm gonna make sure.
Joey, you telling the truth. You know
He's
it.
funny.
All right, let me calm down. Okay, let me get it together. So, all right, I'm good. So we're talking about specifically how should we guard our heart against corrupt speaking and or foul language specifically.
The how, right?
Yes.
So now we're on the how.
Yes.
It's not easy. I know you said I'll tell you how. It's not easy because first off, the prince of the power of the air, the one that has been given dominion over the earth, has its plan, and its plan and purpose is to over sensualize, over sexualize, corrupt, and he understands. He understands because we know who he was. He was the leader of music and praise and worship of the angelic host. So he understands the importance and significance what music does. He understands that the words that we say, and how he even, like Hakeem alluded to, the fact is that when Satan had told Adam and Eve, like, well, he didn't really say that, and how we try to change words to change our perspective, and the different words that does that. We are what we eat, and I mean that not just in a nutritional way. We're also in a psychological, on a psychological level, and also a spiritual level. So what enters into our spirit and what enters into our psyche does determine or change or alter our viewpoint, our perspectives, our characteristics, our behaviors. They do that. So when you say, when we, just to kind of bring it to understanding of how, what it affects, and then when you say how, well, you have to not only be intentional, but because, like the book that was written some time ago, The Battlefield of the Mind, you have to look at it as far as from a warfare standpoint. And what it is, it has to not just be intentional, it has to be aggressive, it has to be planned, it has to be plotted, it has to be, because it's been going on for a long time. Now that you mature in Christianity and now we're mature into our beliefs, we can now see the things, but there was times that we couldn't see it. For example, when we were kids, we loved watching Bugs Bunny. But Bugs Bunny was not really a show for us to watch because there were a lot of subliminals that were in there, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
only that, like for example, okay, so then we want to talk about the current issues of today, but let's go back a few generations before and the epidemic or the pandemic of cigarettes, tobacco. The tobacco industry decided they
Mm-hmm.
want to increase their sales. So how did they want to do streets to sale? They make sure that they put it on the silver screen. They put it on the TV. So Humphrey Bogart, Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, all of those people of old were always having a cigarette in their hand. They were always, but they were
Mm-hmm.
the classy of us. They were the wealthy of us. They were the important. They were the ones we looked up to. So if they do it, then we do it. So there's always been a plot and ploy to try to bombard your eyes with the things that they want you to go towards, which generally has a satanic backdrop, but for them it is a capitalistic endeavor or mission. So when we say the how is by any means necessary. More word. And if because we're so busy, because now it says that even somebody even suggested, I think on social media, it says that being busy is a trick of the enemy as well. Somebody even told me, it says food is the enemy's secret weapon, but that's a different conversation because we're not really, because when we look, most of us probably can tell a jingle of a specific food place. Burger King, McDonald's, we can sing it. And even
Mm-hmm.
though we are not hungry, but let a good McRib commercial come on, or
Oh,
McFlurry
McRib.
commercial come on, or you know what I mean? So there we have to understand that we are controlled by the things we see and hear. When we acknowledge those things, then we now can be able to set a plan in place. So like for me, like I do have my study time. I get out on my patio and I have my read time, whatever have you. But I know that there was a time that I read every chance I got to have my Bible at work with me. When I wasn't so busy, I would take a lunch break and I would read my word and this, that, and the other. But then more things came, ministry came, and then I find myself more, even though I could rehearse it, but those things, right? So now I have to be strategic.
Yeah.
I will put on the Bible audio on YouTube and I'll put it in my headphones. And because I have a plan, so I don't have the commercials, and I will have the audio Bible being played while I sleep. When I wake up in the morning, if I'm intentional, I have something that's on my phone that jumps out and throws a scripture in my face. I may not read the whole scripture or all of it, but the fact that it's flashing in my face, I'm counter-attacking the narrative and the atmosphere, and I'm making sure that until I create a discipline that now makes me more kingdom and less earthly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reclusion or being a recluse does have its benefits, but the bottom line is that we can't be recluse forever. We got to get out in these streets. We got to get out in the world. We got to walk, whatever have you. And it's a good trick. But what can we do? Okay. And then I want to say this, even though the subject has kind of been passed, but I just want to talk about this real quickly. I'm glad that the men on this panel have grown to a mature level in their Christendom to say that I understand that in order for me to protect me, I just don't date, because I recognize what God has done in my life and I'm grateful to it. And I don't want to slap him in the face. I do feel that it's necessary as a man to make a very highlight a point. Men are created to desire sex. It is a need for men. It's not a want. And then if you have been married and you've already crossed the threshold of sexual encounters and intimacy, now there is a thirst and a hunger that just rests in your beings. So for a man to say, now women will say, well, that's not, hey, I stick to myself too. I take showers too. Oh, if I can handle it, you can have, no, 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 no. There is something about, that's the reason why he said, when I'm dating, if I tell a woman I don't want to have sex, that blows her mind, because within the cycle, the natural, the nature, the narrative, for a man to say he doesn't want to have sex with her is unheard of. But because his natural born created DNA is to desire after procreation, creating another life, the intimacy, it is how there's so much things that is ego, psyche, physiology. There's so much connected to it that forces us to want it. And for a man to say, listen, I've grown to a place that the things that God has done for me, that I don't even want to position myself to slap him in the face, is a whole lot way more weightier than we've allowed this this conversation to kind of go over it, to say that. Think about it. There's a reason why there are so many men who are raped in jail. When you go into the military, there is a chemical they put in your food so that they don't have those mishaps in the military. It's called saltpeter. Because they understand the physiology of a man. So you think that, well, a man could go into the military and go to war, and it's okay, yeah, all right. Let him not have something to actually counter that. He will stick in a hole in the ground if he has to. Let's just be 100 with it. Okay, that's the reason why men become molested and raped in jail, because after a period of time they don't apply those chemicals or those medications to help out. It's not, and then of course it's already, anyway. So the how, we have to come at it from a warlike perspective, strategy perspective, not crude, not standoffish, but warlike. Well, what is warlike? I have a squad. I have a platoon. I have people who are like-minded, who have the same mission, the same goals, that keeps me on, and I can call them and say, hey, right now, Hakeem, can I
Go. No, do your thing.
My brother calls me every night. He said, okay, now I need you to talk me off the edge.
Yep.
Because this woman done rolled up on me, and oh my God. And
Do it.
listen. And she's telling me everything I want to hear, right. She doesn't want no commitment. She don't want this. She don't want that. She just wants to take care of my needs and move on. What?
I was not designed to say no to that.
So he now calls me and says, hey, I need somebody to talk to me.
It's true. Talk to him.
His squad. Who's in your? I preached this message before. I said it on the clubhouse on Tuesdays. Who's in your squad?
Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to have those discussions that can take your mind off the stuff? Okay, let's. What Eddie Murphy used to say. Tell jokes. Keep the mind off the booty.
And Chris, I want you to know, you said a great job. I'm glad you shared all
was
that.
that Richard Pryor? That was Richard Pryor. He said he told
Richard Pryor.
The mind off. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you said. I'm glad you mentioned both of those, because I was going to talk about that too, real quick. Mary, you don't mind?
Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
Like that is the part, and I was not ready for that. I was not ready for the backlash will come for saying. And so then it become another challenge that maybe LaRon was talking about, as far as like trying to obey God, because like, wait a minute, I need to think about this. Like, hold on. I spent my whole life, not whole life, but I spent most of my time chasing, and now I want to kind of, lay back, and now I'm getting pushed. So that's one thing. And I think, Chris, what you're getting at, but you don't mind me adding to, I would like to point this out to everybody, is that our definition of fun, and when it comes to the mouth and comes to foul the mouth, how much does that get into? So like, for example, we talk about Rich Pryor. We already know that, anything you're going to watch him, then it was going to be foul. But like, I think, especially African Americans, most of us would tell you that one of our top 10 movies, Coming to America, is probably in it. Okay. And the joke that I have on me that I call my brother on is, when I got to the age, can't remember the age, when I got to the age when I was able to realize the whole entire movie, the ins and outs of that, I think I called my brother. I was like, I can't believe Mom let me watch this. because there's parts of that movie is like, whoa, okay. I'm the only one laughing. All right. I guess I'm the only one.
What about Weird Science?
Scene. No problem.
Think about
No, I was laughing. I was on mute.
Okay. No problem. I'll be the only one.
They got you
No,
too,
we gotta guard your heart. Guard your heart.
Remember
guard
Weird
your
Science?
heart.
Do you remember Weird Science?
So I wasn't even going to talk about that one. No, I wasn't even going to bring that one up. I brought it. So as a kid, I really thought that was just a science movie. And some of my people who listen, like, I don't even know what that is. Go back, that whole thing, I had no clue. But you're right. I'm glad you brought that up. And so, Coming to America, Weird Science, and it's just the fun. So I'm going to go back to something that, and this is my last piece here. Well, I think we're talking about fun. And I think we're talking about, there's certain churches, certain denominations say, you can't, I'm going to cards. You can't play cards. Some say you can. Some say you can't, blah, blah, blah. It goes back and forth. But I'd be lying if I told you one of the best memories I had is watching my brother, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, well, really my brother and my aunts and uncles, going at it in a game of spades. And here's the deal. My brother taught me how to play cards, okay? I slammed the table. I thought I was doing something. And then my brother took his card, the big joker, and slid it up underneath my card, the little joker, and he flipped it and he
Oh,
spanked the fire. And he did the bounce.
oh yeah, oh
Yep.
yeah. That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's
That's
how we
it
do
right
it. That's how we do it.
That's it.
I'm glad y'all with me now.
Oh, we with
But
you.
it's that aggressiveness that made that card playing a Super Bowl. And you know, and I'm not talking about my brother at all, but when it comes to other people, family members back in the day, they weren't saying that and not using curse words.
Right.
They were
Mhm.
using curse words to add to the
Right.
when they flipped it, there's an
Mhm.
ASS word coming on that, which sounds
Mhm.
a lot more aggressive and tougher and more funner than just say, boy, I'm about to whoop that butt and flip it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
it's not just the best, it's all part in the fun and entertainment. And yeah, I don't have a memory of the best card game that did not include curse words. And in fact, if I watched, and I'm just being honest, and if I watched a game and nobody didn't do what my brother used to do and take the big joker when somebody else thought they had a book and slide it underneath and flip it, if nobody's doing that, this ain't real. This ain't fun. Y'all ain't playing it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to put that out there and use that on different things. So like, you know, I just thought I want to share that. It's the fun part.
Absolutely.
And I think before Mary takes it back over, what you're saying is that how does the enemy catch you off guard? When you're relaxed and you're trying to enjoy yourself, when you feel in your space where you're not trying to fight, defend, or protect, having fun and relaxation. And
Mhm.
if I can, just bring in real quick and we're going to move forward. But I just want to throw this in there. Now we understand by his example alone why the old saints said not to play cards. The cards wasn't the sin, it was the atmosphere around it.
Found them.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
you're
Tell it.
right. Hey,
That's the truth.
So there,
you are right.
so there was a time in my life that I started asking the hard question. Why did they tell us not to? We were just told to listen and do.
Mhm.
Right.
But
Right.
and then because we felt like we were stripped of fun and enjoyment and experiences, encounters, we resented the old church.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, why
Mm.
did they tell us not to?
Right.
And now
Right.
from a mature mindset, you could say, no wonder they told me to stay away from cards.
Right.
Wow. And that
That
makes
was
so
deep.
much sense now because I didn't
It
even
makes
think about
yeah.
that.
It
But
made you
now
just made
look
that
at
make
that.
sense.
Yes. So it's a little bit after 8, and I do want us to wrap up, but I definitely want to allow the panel members to give like their last words of advice, you know, on terms like just, you know, if you could leave like maybe a final word as to, you know, how to guard your heart, just based upon what we just talked about here, you know, any of the some of the subtopics, you know, within that, you know, please feel free to do that. I'm going to give you each like a minute, and then I'm going to reference a book that may be helpful too for some of our viewers. So I'm actually going to start with Lady Shannon.
Oh, lady. Oh.
Yes.
Mute.
So, a- again, just to reiterate, just to set boundaries, know who you are, have a tribe around you that's going to be able to pour into you. Make sure that you are around people that don't trigger you, but that would help you in the healing process, um, and help you actually put your heart back together or get you back on the right track. Guard the things that you see,
Mhm.
the people who actually have access to you. You may want to take a look at that and date yourself. It sounds really weird, but I've done it. The first time I did it, um, I felt really strange. I felt really strange. But when you start to learn to love yourself and appreciate yourself and take time with yourself and pray to God and start to learn who you are, I think that's another way that you can protect your heart from being broken or being placed in the wrong hands.
Thank you, Tracy.
Ditto. My own self, be true. You gotta be true to yourself. You gotta be honest with yourself, honest with God. You can be honest with others. It is important. That, like it's been stated, we must set boundaries, healthy boundaries. We must have a strategic plan, because the enemy knows his game. You know, we got to be on ours. We got to know what, and have a plan and set in place, so that we can grow. We have to have a level of accountability. You must have a squad. You can't do this alone. Can't do it alone. No man is an island. So, and then what my brother said about spades, and Apostle said about spades. I understood why the old folks said it once I matured. However, I was able to create an atmosphere where we didn't have to cuss and do all of that stuff. And I enjoy it.
Sis,
So
come
just
on,
let
sis.
it be known. When I come to that place, we spades is on. We got the game. I got the cards ready. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Shuffling. That's all. I just want to know you gonna shuffle.
Oh yeah, I know how to shuffle now. Oh yeah, I got you. I got you.
No. Okay. Go ahead, Akeem. It's on you, bro.
I appreciate that. I think, when we talk about boundaries, just to say specifically in case anybody doesn't know, going back to to actual know what the boundaries are, we do have to communicate and have a tight relationship with God. We have to fear the Lord in a loving way, and we have to know the Bible, as intimidating as it may sound for some, not for all. And then one of the things I've been hearing more and more lately, just being out there, whether Christian radio or whatever, is just tightening up things by using 10 commandments instead of just taking a straight 10 and rolling with it. I think that as far as like, hey, adultery is not just having sex with another woman. Adultery is even just lustful eye. Stealing is not just taking candy from a store. Stealing is also, if we, I think, especially as a kid, we grew up at those 10 commandments until recently, I just thought those 10 specifically directly. I didn't think of using those and branching those out. And we can use those to guide us. That along with relationship and a fear of the Lord in a loving way is how we can set boundaries.
Amen.
Thank you. Apostle. Go
The
ahead, sir.
what, I believe you asked the what, you asked the how and the why about surrounding, protecting the heart. Our heart is not just most of it beats the blood, but our heart is the source of love, the connection of the DNA of the Father who shares and shows his love, and the enemy is after it. And the bottom line is that you have to understand that it is a warfare for your heart, and that you have to approach it from a warfare standpoint as far as your strategies is concerned and things of that nature. There's the culture keeps changing, and it creates these narratives that makes it more and more difficult. That's the reason why we need to create Christian cultures on the principles and practices and precepts of the kingdom, according to the word, not part of it, but the whole word needs to be shown and exemplified that it can work, that it does have power, it does have good results, and that it's not boring.
No.
Speaking of which, there will not be any cussing when we play spades when you come, Tracy, but I will make you feel like cussing.
We'll see that when we get at the
I
table.
will make you come to the edge of it. I promise you.
We'll see when we get to the table. You might eat a couple of them cards.
Let me come to the table and humble somebody. But anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But go ahead. I'll let you finish.
I'm telling you, you better bring your teeth guard because you're gonna want to let them.
Listen, ain't nobody there. I'm from the D. We know how to play them.
Listen. The game of spades is not just the cards on the table. There's a whole mental game that's there too.
Absolutely.
It is. It's strategy.
Okay.
It's absolutely strategy. If you play like me and count the cards, you know what you're doing.
Here we go. She gonna show the whole hand. She counting cards and all this. That's all right. Look, I'm gonna make her all kind of mad.
Tracy, listen, I don't know you, and I know you was coming for me. I'm gonna tell you something.
Uh-oh.
You remember they talk about Muhammad Ali and
Uh-huh.
how you talk to George Foreman? Chris
Uh-huh.
is gonna talk to you the whole game.
I'm gonna talk to him the whole game back.
He is in your ear.
I'm in his face. I'm
game.
talking back, bruh. That's what we do. We come to tea over here. That's what we do. That's what we on. Bring it.
All right, y'all. All right, y'all. We're gonna finish this offline, but I want to make sure, you know, for the sake of time for our viewers, can I give my last comment?
Yes.
See, now I want to play some cards with y'all now because y'all talking too much trash, but that's all right.
What's up with that?
It's
And
okay.
quote scriptures while I'm playing. Making you
I'm going back.
That's why I'm gonna
I
guard my
I
heart.
know some. I know some
I'm gonna
words.
guard my heart, and I'm not gonna play.
Guard
I'm
your
not gonna
heart,
play.
Lady O. Guard your heart,
I
Lady
said I'm
O.
gonna guard my heart, and I ain't gonna play. Y'all ain't gonna hurt my
Guard your heart, Lady O.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
We can play some
Wilbur
Uno
said-
though.
I looked at Wilbur's comment. She said, "Not count cards." Yeah, that's what she
Count them, baby.
that's what she said.
And don't sandbag, because now really have to dog you then.
No, he don't sandbag.
Don't
Chris
sandbag.
does mind control.
No,
Debo,
don't sandbag.
mind control.
Listen, I roll Boston's any day. Don't sandbag.
Uh-oh, she said Boston.
Yeah,
She
I'm
said
gonna talk about you real bad. Don't sandbag now. You're gonna get really hurt.
Just don't renege. That's all I'm saying. Just don't renege.
Catch me. You gotta catch me first. You tell me what I can't do. I
Oh,
can do.
man. I'm telling you. All right, Tracy.
Hey,
You know what? If I'm not there, I want y'all to zoom in. I want to see it.
yeah, we gonna zoom in. We'll have it right there live for you.
Your first card, you gonna pull it out, and he's gonna say, "I know you
Let
never played that Ace of Diamond, are you?"
And
you got to put it back.
Make her last point so we can get offline. Make her last point. Come on, Mary.
You're going to have to pull it back.
Let me tell you something.
Oh, very
Put it back.
very quickly.
Go ahead. Pull it back.
Very quickly. So I know that we've covered a lot of material, and I definitely want to thank our panel tonight because this was a lot of good stuff. Because I know that I constantly heard as a theme tonight, boundaries, you know, just setting healthy boundaries. And there is a book out there that talks about boundaries and setting healthy boundaries in different areas of our life. And the book is actually called Boundaries, and it's by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. It's going to be a little bit blurry. But this is a book. Again, I typically don't, you know, endorse anything, but this would be a good book to have in your arsenal if you really find yourself struggling to set healthy boundaries. You're not really sure what a healthy boundary looks like. So in addition to reading your word, praying, spending time with God, and allowing God to minister to you, to speak to you through his word, definitely check out this resource as well, because I do believe that there are biblical references in this book as well. But again, thank you to all our viewers that tuned in tonight. Thank you all that commented. I want to thank our panel. This was just excellent. And I do feel like there'll be at least some form of a part 2 with some of the topics that we discussed tonight. I just really felt like we just kind of hit the tip of the surface, the tip of the iceberg, and there's more that we can really dive into at a later date. So again, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you to everyone, and we will be back again on Thursday. So